So there was a rumor that there was going to be a Nintendo Direct today. It wasn't really we didn't really get like an official announcement from Nintendo, but we got a lot of like silly things going on with tweeting and other things on social media where Nintendo was kind of hinting at this and people online were getting buzzed for it. And I was thinking, well, maybe they'll announce a direct soon. Maybe they'll announce a direct today or maybe this weekend. Instead, they just did the fucking direct today. Today is the 11th of January, 2018, buddy, and there was a direct today. It was very mini direct. That's what it was called. But there was something in this direct that really caught my attention, and so something you guys are probably gonna learn about me is that I'm a big Switch fan. I'm a Switch enthusiast. I want people to buy Switches and play on the Switch. But I'm also a giant fighting game fan, and it seems like fighting games are kind of awkward on the Switch so far. Now I'm assuming you could just use a fighting game pad, like a fight stick, and plug it into the GameCube slot. I'm sure there's some GameCube fight pads or something. Or maybe there will be some, like, Mad Catz fight sticks or something eventually that we can use on the Switch. But right now, I don't even really use fight sticks that much. I play a lot of games with just a controller. And I even on the Switch, the controller can be kind of awkward when it comes to fighting games. Not really ideal. And with so many fighting games having a much bigger presence on consoles, it's like, why even bother? And this fighting game I'm about to talk about is going to come out on PS4 as well. I already know that much. It'll probably come out on PC as well. Because this is an SNK fighting game, which is insane. Because King of Fighters, the newest one, just came out not that long ago. However, this new King of Fighters game isn't a King of Fighters game. It's called SNK Heroines. And on the trailer, they showed 4 characters who are from King of Fighters. So I'm wondering why it's called SNK Heroines and not called like King of Fighters Heroines or Queen of Fighters. Maybe that's a little too on the nose to call the game Queen of Fighters, but which I think that's fine. But this game's really weird. It's very cutesy, or at least that's how the American trailer would like you to perceive things. The truth is that the Japanese trailer also came out today, and if you go find it. And it's not hard to find. It'll actually be like your first search result. The Japanese trailer shows off a completely different aspect to this game, where the female characters, which they're all female characters, every character had like some sort of fetish style bikini. One girl was in like a black cat style bikini. Good old Mai. You know Mai. Mai's our ninja chick with giant tits who appeared in Dead or Alive because her tits are so big. They decided to put her in a 3D fighting game because fuck it, she fits in the universe. She's a ninja with big tits. That's Dead or Alive. Anyway, Mai was wearing like a cow bikini with like horns and a bell around her neck, which is the cow fetish joke in Japan is like women with big tits wear cow bikinis. So it's like that's the joke, and she was wearing it, and then yeah, and then the other 2 characters were in. Yuri. There was more than 4 characters. There's 5 characters because Yuri and Athena and Kula were all in it, too. Yeah, there's 5 characters. Kula was in like this weird bikini too. Athena and Yuri were like the only 2 who were wearing the same cutesy style outfit in both versions, and that's probably that makes a lot of sense because they're the cutesy style characters. I don't even know how old they are in those games. I'm sure by now, if they wanted to say they're 18, they could. Athena is normally like a schoolgirl, though. Yuri, I think, is just a young student of Kung Fu. I don't think she's. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure on her. Either way, Yuri and Athena are 2 of my favorite characters in all of fighting games. Not so much Mai or Kula, even though I love Kula. I'm just not very good as her. She's kind of fun to play, though. I love Athena and Yuri so much. When I play Capcom vs. SNK 2, I usually will use one of those 2 girls on my team, every team. I love playing as them. So, if you put just them in a fighting game, even though I would still like to use a character like Terry Bogard or Joe or something, Even though I like those characters probably the most, I still like Yuri and Athena so much that I will be perfectly fine playing a all-female King of Fighters game that has tag team elements, which is why it's really weird. They only showed off like 5 characters, and it's a 2-on-2 fighting game. And the weirdest thing is that it comes out this year, but even weirder is that it comes out this summer. It comes out in like a few months, dude. It comes out, what? It's January now? So what? It comes out, I guess, like half the year, right? So maybe not a few months, but it comes out like at least like 4 or 5 months from now. Like holy crap. And I'm assuming they're gonna start like, I don't know how Nintendo got them to like reveal this fighting game like on their direct, on their little showcase, but I guess they knew people were watching, and maybe SNK wants to. Oh, you know what? SNK keeps doing those Neo Geo classics on the Switch. They keep putting. There's so many Neo Geo games on the Switch. SNK must be really. They must have made some sort of deal with Nintendo to like push SNK games on the Switch and be like, hey, we'll put games on the Switch. We'll put a whole bunch of games on the Switch. Now, King of Fighters is doing hot right now in fighting games because the last King of Fighters game, when it came out, people were like, this is what you do. People would look at Street Fighter V and they looked at how lackluster it was, and mainly because it had like no features when it came out. And they look at King of Fighters. King of Fighters had so many characters right off the bat. And they had arcade mode. It had everything you would want. And people say it was like if people said if you were burnt out on Street Fighter V, then play King of Fighters, because King of Fighters was everything a fighting game should be in the modern age. And that doesn't mean it's what a fighting game was back then. It means this is how it should have evolved over time. Now, I like King of Fighters. I just will always. I don't know if I'll ever prefer SNK fighting games to Capcom fighting games. I know there's a lot of people on the other side of the spectrum who totally disagree. That's fine. You wanna throw down? We'll play Capcom versus SNK 2. That's one of the best fighting games of all time, in my opinion. We will throw down in that game, and you can use all your SNK characters. I'll use all my Capcom characters, and that's why that game exists, baby. And you know what? I'll probably use some SNK characters too, because I do like SNK. I just prefer Capcom more. And I don't know if I'm sorry if that doesn't make me unique or different enough. I just really like Street Fighter. I think those games are fun as hell. Anyway, so this direct was just crazy with this game, but the fact that I want to talk about how weird it is that the Japanese version is marketed so differently from the version we got here. Now, I know why they did it. If you go on the website, if you look up stuff in this game, it doesn't look like the bikini stuff is not a part of the game. The game's not censored, you know? The game's not... It looks like that stuff's still in the American game. However, they just didn't market it that way. They just didn't show it off in the trailers. And that's... I mean, I'm not... As long as it's still in the game, I'm not going to cry bullshit. Because during the end of the Wii U's lifespan, there was a lot of shit that really pissed me off when it came to censorship in video games. Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE was a game that I really loved. I loved that shit out of that game. Mainly because it's just Persona with Fire Emblem characters in it. And I love Persona, and I love Fire Emblem. So combining the two, it's like my 2 favorite RPGs ever. When you combine the two, you're going to make a game I'm going to like. And, you know, I still think Persona 5 is probably better. I still probably think Persona 4 is better. But that doesn't mean this game isn't, like, fucking also awesome. Like, this game's amazing. So, and it's definitely made for people who enjoy both. And I think a lot of people who enjoy one enjoy the other, because they're both turn-based. Even if one's a strategy game. And, they did, but there was a lot of censorship in the game. Like, a lot of costumes were altered. And some of them are just baffling. Like, some of them don't make any sense to me on why they were censored. The game is rated T for teen either way. And it's not like the costumes they changed would have raised the game to M. You can put a girl in a bikini and the game will still be rated T for teen. You know, it doesn't make sense to me to take out a bikini and then instead put it in, like, crazy fashion. They took out all the bikini modeling and changed it to, like, high fashion, which was like... Or it was like weird artistic fashion. But I was like, And it didn't ruin the game for me or anything. I'm not that butthurt about it, but it's just a weird decision to me. Like it just there's a wedding dress that was altered to show less cleavage, but they still, all they did was paint like a undershirt style thing of to be a part of the dress. So her dress goes up all the way to her neck, but you can still see where it was supposed to be, like where you could see her bare skin. They didn't like raise the dress up any higher. Like it still has a bunch of cleavage on it. So it's very confusing. It's like, why did they? It's like you didn't even censor it really. I could still see like everything. I could still see everything you're trying to hide there. So I don't. But then there's a few other costumes where like a girl's supposed to be wearing like only underwear and not pants, which is what some pop stars today do. I mean, Lady Gaga exists, and then not to mention Miley Cyrus, and they kind of changed that to be like now she's wearing leather pants, which is like I still ended up using that costume on that character because to me it looked really good either way. Like it didn't bother me, but again, it's like why? It's just like some people get uncomfortable when they see these Japanese anime games and there's lewd stuff in it, and they're like, "Oh, this like I don't want this. This makes me feel awkward," or this makes me feel like a nerdy weeaboo guy who can't get like a real girlfriend or something. I don't want to play a game alone and look at this stuff. Well, I got news for you. I don't give a fuck. I would play these games. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit if it has it or doesn't have it. So to me, it just seems like a baffling decision to take some of those things out of those games. And as long as it's still in the King of Fighters game, this it's called SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy, which is a ridiculous name. Probably should have just went with King of Fighters, but they went with SNK Heroines Fighting Frenzy or Tag Team Frenzy because it's a 2v2 game with tagging, which is awesome. King of Fighters doesn't have a tag system, so that's fun. But I do have to wonder if they're going to put in other characters from SNK that aren't just from King of Fighters. Now, if you don't know what King of Fighters is, by the way, SNK used to have multiple fighting games in the past. There was Fatal Fury, and there was Art of Fighting. Now, characters like Ryo and Yuri, they're from Art of Fighting. And characters like Terry Bogard and Mai, they're from Fatal Fury. So you take those Fatal Fury characters and you take the Art of Fighting characters, and then they made some new characters, and that's where you get characters like I'm not going to try to name all of them. But they made new characters just for King of Fighters, and then the 3 games, it was like one giant crossover. It was like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like imagine if Capcom made a game where they say, you know what, we're not making Street Fighter ever again. And we're not making Darkstalkers ever again. We're just going to make a new game that's going to feature new main characters, but then the old main characters are going to be, from both Street Fighter and Darkstalkers, will be in this game. And then as time goes on, we'll just eventually have like every single character from all of the games ever, and then also just a shit ton of new ones. And I mean, Street Fighter kind of, always has new characters over the years, so it's not really a big deal, but it's just like, that's the best way to compare it. King of Fighters is already a crossover game. Just like Street Fighter kind of is a crossover game just because it has Final Fight characters in it. Street Fighter and Final Fight are canon in the same universe. King of Fighters is like that too. Like all the SNK games are basically canon. Another cool thing about Capcom vs. SNK was that it wasn't just Street Fighter vs. King of Fighters. They did throw in Morgan from Darkstalkers, and they also threw in a few characters from. They threw in a character from Samurai Showdown. They threw in a guy from Samurai Showdown in that game, which is really cool. And then they threw in. They threw in this girl from Samurai Showdown. Maybe she'll be in this new SNK game. They also threw in a character. I think she was from Last Blade. Did SNK make Last Blade? I don't even remember, dude. It's been a while since I've played Last Blade 2 on Dreamcast. It's been a while. I'm getting some weird obscure territory. I know. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to think who would even be in this SNK game. SNK is not like a popular name anymore. They're famous for two things: Metal Slug and King of Fighters. Everything else, they're not really. They didn't really do anything of note. They didn't really do anything that people care about. There's a lot of these Neo Geo games coming out now. A lot of people are probably having the opportunity to become more familiar with these games, and maybe this Heroines game will help people want to look back more at the past. But to me, it just seems like it's a offshoot of King of Fighters with all the female characters from the newest King of Fighters, and then I hope there's someone else. But it looks like most of the fun is going to come from. I think they're going to try to make up for a lack of character roster with these costumes. It's not. I've already mentioned like there's bikinis and stuff like that, but it looks like there's more than just like a few costumes. It looks like you can actually customize what they look like, which SNK is kind of famous for. SNK always like lets you do different color options. At least not always, but a lot of the time they let you do different color options. I first saw this in Capcom vs SNK 2, and when I played King of Fighters, I think 13 on Steam. It was one of the last like 2D ones they made. But basically, I think it was the one that came out right before this newest one. But that game's awesome, by the way. That game has like a color editing mode too. So, yeah. Besides that, I don't know. I have played a lot of King of Fighters games in the past. I played a lot of different because they come out. They don't call it King of Fighters like 5, King of Fighters 6. They call it King of Fighters 99, King of Fighters 2000, King of Fighters 2001, King of Fighters 2002. There's King of Fighters Final Impact, or was it called Final Impact, or it was something Impact because it was a 3D game. I played the 3D ones. I played so many King of Fighters games, guys, and I'm happy. I'm really happy with this announcement. The only thing is that I am a little worried Nintendo will censor the game, but it looks so far like it's not getting censored. And I also think they've been a lot better about censorship lately. What's that game? Fire Emblem Warriors. That's the game. Fire Emblem Warriors actually has armor break mode, and most of the characters, when their armor breaks, they're not like running around nearly naked or anything. Like, it's not like Senran Kagura level of clothes being ripped off, but it is like like they're wearing like less clothes. Think more of like Soul Calibur's armor break. In Soul Calibur 4 and 5, there's armor break, and sometimes it would just make people look like they're fighting in their pajamas. Other times people would lose their pants. And it was kind of comical when you're fighting like Raphael or Mitsurugi and you knock their pants off and they're just like in underwear. But either way, now we have this game. Sorry, we had Armor Break was in Fire Emblem Warriors, and there was only one character who... Well, I didn't play it that much once Armor Break came out. I have played it a little bit since then, just for fun. But I haven't really noticed it because I almost never get my armor broken. Even when I'm getting damage dealt to me, I don't like lose my armor. I'm not even sure how to lose armor, but I have noticed that if you do armor break on Camellia, she's in like basically just underwear, and she's the only character I think that's it like that, and that doesn't bother me because Camellia is already like that. Like, she's already showing her tits like crazy. So I don't think Nintendo's going to choke down on the censorship, and that's another thing is Bayonetta, they didn't even bother. They're like, well, it's rated M, so who cares? But then there's other M-rated games they really censor. But this was also right after the whole Gamergate fiasco and Dead or Alive being... The creators of Dead or Alive decided that Dead or Alive Extreme 3 doesn't need to come to America. That would be a bad thing for it to come to America. And then Nintendo kept trying to censor Senran Kagura, and they said Senran Kagura can't come out in America. But then it came out in America anyway, and they're like... There was this guy on Twitter who worked at Nintendo of America who said he wanted to make so this game could come out in America, but it's still coming out. So just don't buy it. Like, he was telling people not to buy a game. that is on the system, like that would make Nintendo money. He's telling them not to buy it. So, there was this huge controversy, and I think the pressure was really hot. And whether you like Gamergate or not, it did leave a rippling effect, and this is one of the products of that. And all I'm saying is, I just let these games exist. I don't think they're hurting anyone. I think everyone's just having fun with it. I don't think it's creating a negative impact. And just this is like a weird thing to me that SNK is even making a game like this, like a 2-on-2 focused fighting game that's all females, and it seems to be coming out on PS4. So this is like a spin-off game, sure, but a spin-off tag team game with all women is kind of strange. And even with all the sexy lewd stuff in the Japanese trailer that is probably still in the American game, there's still cutesy shit all over the game. You still win by, like, when you win, it's still like this cutesy victory pose thing. Like, you still shoot like candy and food instead of fireballs. So this is a very strange and weird, cute approach to a fighting game, which normally a fighting game would be the opposite of cute. Like, there's hot characters in fighting games, don't get me wrong. Girls like the hot guys and guys like the hot girls. That's just a thing in fighting games. People, when you're fighting someone, you probably have a nice body because you probably have to work out to keep it nice. So a lot of the male characters are pretty jacked and a lot of the female characters are very toned. And then there's Chun-Li and Cammy who have giant legs. But and people love it. People love that shit. But either way, it's like that's one of the things in fighting games. But you're still beating the shit out of someone. You're still shooting fireballs at people. You're still uppercutting them into the air. You're still beating them on the ground. That's the part of the fighting games as well. And this game is looking like they're just taking the anime waifu aspect of it and cranking it up to fucking 11. And that might be good and that might be bad. I think there's a lot of people who this game appeals to. And I'm glad it's a spin-off game because there's a lot of remember Skullgirls? There's even more of these like weird indie games that are way less popular than Skullgirls that are like all girl fighters that have a bunch of like sexy lewd shit in them. And I don't know who's playing them. They never become mainstream or popular. There is always sexy lewd stuff in fighting games, even the mainstream ones. But like those games still become really popular because there's just cool characters and characters that have cool aspects to them, and this is a weird territory for them to go down. This is like a weird thing where everyone involved had to get together. Everyone at SNK got together and just said, "Hey, we're making this really weird, strange game that people are gonna play because they like waifus. And we want to provide our girls as waifus to these boys." I hope the game isn't too weird, honestly. I hope the game's still... Because that's the thing, it's like they put this game on the Switch so you can play it on the go, but if you can't play this game outside in public without people judging you, then maybe it's not worth buying on the Switch. So, but either way, will I get it on Switch? Yeah, I'm thinking about getting the Street Fighter collection on Switch, and that was just confirmed a few days ago. So I might do that. And if it's not very good, if I'm not having fun playing on a Switch, then maybe I'll just get this King of Fighters game on my PS4 or possibly PC. But I have high hopes for this game that to me came kind of out of nowhere. It really caught my attention. And to me, it's the real winner of this Direct. It's not just because it's like the coolest game that I saw, but it was like the most shocking thing and the most unexpected by far. Not just for Nintendo, but just from SNK in general. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Wow, I don't know, but I'm excited. I'm excited for this game. I'm also excited for Mario Tennis. Having a story mode again. It looks like Mario Tennis is gonna finally be good again since like the GameCube game. I don't. Mario Tennis used to be amazing. If you had the N64 game and the Game Boy Color game at the same time, you could make a custom character on the Game Boy Color game and then go through a story mode where you have to level up his stats and do these tournaments. And it was like a real damn tennis game. And then at the very very end, there was Mario characters in it, and that's what made it fucking awesome. And then once you met the Mario characters, you could like transfer your character over to the N64 game. It's fucking cool. GameCube game also had a Game Boy Advance counterpart with a story mode as well. So again, and then like after that, they just kind of dropped it. They started making these shitty Mario Tennis games, and they've been seriously shitty for so long. I actually did buy the Wii U one, and I actually really enjoyed it. But it was like playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or Street Fighter 5 on release day. There was nothing to do in it besides play versus mode. And that was it. That was the whole damn game, was playing versus mode. It wasn't very fun. The control was tight, and the presentation was great, and it looked beautiful, but there was nothing to fucking do. This new one, it looks like they're building off of the game with the gameplay and the engine, and they're taking it forward with a new story mode. And I like it. Even if you don't get to make your own custom character, which I'm fine with. I'd honestly rather play as a Mario character than a fucking custom character who looks nothing like me. I'd rather play as a Mario character. I like Mario characters. I have no problem playing as Mario characters. So, if there's a story mode in it, that's fucking cool, dude. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Then of course, after that, I know people are going to say Dark Souls Remastered. That's fine if you like Dark Souls. That's cool. I'm kind of over it right now. But, though I've heard Dark Souls 3 was really good, so maybe I should give that a chance. But that's not what's coming to Switch. Anyway, there's also... but don't get me wrong. I'm just glad Dark Souls is coming to the Switch. Don't get me wrong on that. And then finally, there is probably the most important game besides this King of Fighters game, and that is the Kirby game. We got to see more of it. We kind of already know. It didn't really show me anything I didn't already know, but I'm so excited for this game. I love Kirby. I hope this game's good. I would rather play as Kirby than play as a hot waifu in a bikini. I would much rather play as Kirby. I love Kirby, dude. So, yeah, this direct kind of came out of nowhere. It had some surprises in it. I wasn't really that shocked. The only thing that really caught me off guard was King of Fighters. But again, it's called SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. Not sure what this game is going to be like. It looks like it plays very similar to the last King of Fighters game. Probably using the same exact engine. It looks just like it. They're using the same character models for sure. Using a lot of recycled material here, which is fine because they're doing something different with it by making it a tag team game. So I'm totally fine with that. But I am wondering if there's going to be a new characters who are not in King of Fighters because they're from other SNK properties. I would love that, but if any of you know any SNK games and have any ideas, go ahead and drop them. But, I feel like a lot of people don't even know much about SNK and their history. And that's why I am glad there's so many SNK games coming out on the Switch eShop. But either way, I don't really have much to say. Hopefully we get to see some big old boo.